So, hello everybody, welcome to tonight's live stream number 29 called Dying Before You Die. So I'll just say a few hellos to people I can know that are on. I can see Lynn, Christine, Jean, Nicola, Lewis, Simon, and presumably Claire, David, and Lois. So welcome to you all, and also welcome to those who have not necessarily said hello on the comments, and anybody listening on catch up, welcome to you as well. So as I say, stream 29, Dying Before You Die. And that harp track, I'll just mention that right early on, is from Tara Cook and recorded by her husband Ken. And that one in particular is called Seeking. So we'll get more of that later when we perhaps go to the meditation. So yeah, welcome to you all. Welcome to everybody, whether you're taking part in the 3-month meditation or not. And this is all for those who are interested in self-realization. And really that is what this whole subject of dying before you die is all about. It's a phrase that's commonly used with self-realization, and so it's worthy of some exploration as to what that means, what that's pointing to. So let's get stuck into that. So the first thing that you need to understand about this dying before you die is that it's not the physical body we're talking about here that's dying. As far as self-realization is concerned, our forms pass, they will eventually die, but consciousness, that which you truly are, the infinite silence, is eternal. And so the dying before you die in the context of self-realization, as we are in the form, the physical body vehicle, we're not separate from that eternal infinite silence. It's the body form is simply an expression of that. Now, for most people on the planet, basically what's happened is that they've forgotten who they really are, which is the awareness or the infinite silence, the eternal self. And so for that to flower or to emerge into a conscious living awareness, a conscious daily experience of who you really are while still having the body, what's dying is essentially this. It is the identification, the attachment, and most crucially, it's the belief in that which you are not. So that's what's dying, the identification, the attachment, and the belief in that which you are not. And that which you are not includes a whole myriad of things, but fundamentally, the fundamental belief that people hold, no matter where you are on the planet, is the belief in something else other than the true self, the infinite silence, the awareness. And that typically includes, I am this form, name whatever name you have, I am the story of the form, I am the gender of the form, I am the experiences of the form, I am the emotions of the form, I am the relationships of the form, and to any number, I am the job of the form, so on and so on and so on. And none of these after the words I am are true about who you really are. So these two words, I am, are very, very powerful. And as soon as you put something after the words I am, you know, so I am a man or I am a woman, or then, and you believe in that enough, and belief is the crucial word here, then you're going to create the experience of being that. And the more that you add to that, the more denser and the more contracted the energy field becomes, and the more suffering ensues. And the reason the suffering follows that is that all these things that are going after the words I am are impermanent. They are impermanent. They talk about all this a lot, permanence and impermanence in Buddhist traditions, and I'm no expert on Buddhism, but they talk about that a lot. And it is the association, the identification, and the attachment to the impermanent, the things, the form, the relationships of the form, the beliefs of the form, the emotions of the form, and so on, and making your life revolve around those is where the source of the suffering comes, because these things all change over time. All these things change over time. And so ego, which is dependent upon this belief, identification, and attachment, is in a constant struggle against this flow of change, and it's trying to keep its version of reality constant, and this it singularly ultimately will fail to do, because they are constantly changing. Some things may change slowly, some things may change quickly, but they're all changing, all of them changing. And we take that even further by believing that things in life need to be a certain way. So we start to add an already weighty set of beliefs. And so we go like, I'll be happy when these conditions are met, and that in itself is a belief, and that in itself therefore creates suffering. And there may be, this event may or may not come to pass. If it does, there may be a brief high, but then fairly quickly afterwards conditions change again and it drops. Something else happens, and so life becomes a kind of roller coaster. I call it the emotional roller coaster, that is driven by these beliefs in the impermanent. And these beliefs and conditions are like crutches for ego. So, back to our subject, dying before you die. The realization of the self. It doesn't actually have any conditions, because one is already this infinite silence. In fact, you cannot not be it, because it is infinite, and there can be nothing outside of the infinite. But the functioning of the identification, the attachment and belief is to mask the experience of it, and that does that by listening basically to what's going on here as a thought stream, and then believing in that thought stream. And then all of your attention, or a high proportion of your attention, is getting locked up here rather than being centered in the silence as the silence. So this masks the experience of the self, or the awareness or the realization of the self. And so this all has to die, so to speak, to be annihilated, to be passed through, to allow that light of awareness to be the focus of the attention. And rather being the attention being placed here, it is centered in the heart space. And the heart here is also not only the physical heart, but also a pointing to beyond that, to like an energetic connection to the silence, the awareness itself. So we have to be willing to let go of these beliefs, these identifications and attachments, and to trust in a higher truth about who we really are. And it starts off as a trust because we take journeys, little steps or openings to that. And as we move along the journey of trust, that trust becomes the highest form of trust, which is not having to trust at all. Not having to trust at all. It becomes the knowing, the awareness of the self. Now, trust is very fundamental, important step, so to speak, or stepping stone, or the appearance of a stepping stone to it, because we're taking a step on this, shall we say, ladder of trust into that which is the permanent state or essence, stateless state, the isness, the silence itself. Now, to ego mind, our identified self, the believer, ego is the fundamental believer that's obsessed with itself. Ego is essentially a thought obsessed with itself, and it's not a bad guy. There needs to be a little grain of sand, so to speak, to create the physical experience. But in the believing in that as who you are, that's where the problem occurs. So, belief basically has to go. And out of the three, identification, attachment and belief, belief is the biggie. Those three always come in a package: identification, attachment, belief. If belief goes, dissolves, dies, the identification and the attachment will automatically disappear too. No effort required. So that's why on previous streams, I think it was the last one, I talked about truth being unbelievable in that it doesn't require belief. It simply is, and it's infinite, and therefore there's nothing outside of it to believe in. And also on stream 4, I think it was, I talked about it being beyond belief as well, meaning the same thing, beyond the idea or concept of belief. So now, as one is opening to this truth of who you are, ego mind always wants to get in on the act. So it wants to know how. How do we do this then? How does one dissolve the belief or drop the belief? And the rather amusing truth of it that seems incredible to mind is that there is no how. There is no how. There is no doing, and there's nothing you can do about it. This seems amazing to mind, because you've been taught all your life to get from A to B. These are the steps that you take, and you go on this kind of journey. But the reason there's no how goes back to something I've already said, is that we are already that which is being sought. We are that already that which is being sought, which is the awareness, the infinite silence, the self. And so there is no path to travel except because there's a physical vehicle here and there's a physical experience unfolding. It will most definitely appear like a journey, and that's okay. In fact, this is part of the beauty of the experience of the self in form. And every experience that has unfolded today has brought us to this point here now, whilst we're listening to this stream. So the experiences themselves are not bad. Equally, we could say they're not good, they just are what they are. Some of those will appear as a struggle and others will appear pleasant. But when we take the labels away and just take them for what they are, then the flow can start to get easier straight away. You're not placing any conditions or any judgments on it. And that's one of the other big things about belief. A belief is the big judge. Ego mind is the big judge. And who is it judging? Actually, it's you judging, ego mind judging itself as either good, bad, or indifferent. So going back to this how question, there isn't really a how. But here's the key point. So how will belief then dissolve in this apparent experience of linear time, which is a beautiful gift? The answer is simplicity itself. Belief will dissolve through the power of your awareness. Let me say that again. Belief will dissolve through the power of your awareness. And what is this awareness? It is the infinite silence itself, and you are that. So that brings us back to trust. By trusting in the power of this awareness, trusting in this permanent essence, refocusing one's attention there, as we do in the infinite silence meditation, and he's talked about at length in live stream 11 and I think it's 18, the infinite silence meditation explored. Refocusing the point of our attention automatically, should we say, the experience will be kickstart a process of attention being recentered or coming back home to this place of awareness. And that alone is what's going to dissolve the beliefs. That's what's going to cause the dying before you die. It is first cause, it is the beginning, it is also the end. For you are that already. Just the power of your awareness alone, nothing else. So we then get to, well, what is the purpose of spiritual practice? And it turns out the answer to that is very simple too. The purpose of all spiritual practice is so you don't have to. The purpose of all spiritual practice is so you don't have to. Don't have to what? That's practice at being who you really are. Because one is already that. So when we engage in meditation, at first meditation will be experienced as a practice. It's something that you sit down or lie down, put some time aside and do. Hence the 3-month program that many are engaged with here. The more you commit to that, the more you open to that, the more that you trust in the infinite silence meditation, the meditation that you're doing, and recentering and placing trust in this higher awareness, this true awareness of who you are, then meditation again will appear to go through its own journey. At first it might be a bit of a challenge, or perceived to be a bit of a challenge, to meditate every day. But the more time goes on, the more one commits to it, the more one opens to it, the more one trusts, it starts to become more fluid, more gentle, more something that actually, if you didn't do that on a day, you would miss it. And naturally, as time unfolds, and this trust is being placed in this higher place, this place of awareness, then this place of awareness is going to start settling you down, bringing your center of attention into the heart space. And that which you are not is going to start to present itself to you. It will percolate up into awareness. Sometimes things will pass without even noticing, but quite often awarenesses start coming up. And this is where many people struggle, because they see these emotional energies, these awarenesses, as a challenge, and ego will want to run away from them. But no, as this happens, this percolation of awarenesses, these beliefs you've been holding on to, these emotions you've been holding on to, come to the surface, they're not a challenge, they're an invitation. Let me say that again. They are not a challenge, they are an invitation. And the reason they're an invitation is that basically what's happening is awareness is saying, look, this has been held onto, this energy, it's been contracting, it's been causing stress, pain, suffering, including physical pain and physical ailments, by the way. It's time to let go. And by facing that head on, with the power of your awareness, trusting only in the silence, not the emotional energy, not the tears, not the whatever else is showing itself, but just trusting in the silence, as discussed in Stream 11 in depth, then this creates, I call it a miracle, because as these are looked at, so to speak, these impermanent things, these emotions, these beliefs, these attachments, these identifications, from this space of awareness, there's no choice for them. They will automatically dissolve. Automatically dissolve. Because the trust is being placed in that true essence, which is the silence itself. And at first it may feel a little bit challenging in the body, but the more that you trust and the deeper that you trust, the faster the experience of that process unfolding will be. And this is why this part of it is sometimes called surrender. What is it that's surrendering? It's the identification, the attachment to the belief system that's been holding you back. One is giving up that, letting that die, just by witnessing from the space of awareness. That's all that's necessary. And yes, it will appear as a process, and that's okay. And yes, it may appear to take time, that's okay. Do not place any conditions on how things should be. Just simply trust, that's all. And the trust will eventually become the knowing. The trust will eventually become the knowing. And as more of this unfolds, and the more trust that is placed, the easier that becomes. It can be, shall we say, appear as quite a struggle when one is holding on, fingertips on the edge of the cliff, hanging on by your fingernails, to a belief system that you thought served you. But actually, if you let go, which ego doesn't want to do, but if you do let go, trusting, and the letting go is the trusting in the absolute, the infinite silence, the awareness, then that will unfold more easily, will transition, transcend, transmute much more easily. So the degree of trust is very, very important. And it'll be the shift in awareness that occurs first. The body will respond, and then the two start to come in alignment. And it's actually in this process, as the consciousness starts to shift, that all of these energetic alignments that you so often hear people talking about, they actually will happen naturally. You'll hear a lot of people talking about Kundalini awakening and stuff like that. And you can even do courses on Kundalini this and Kundalini that. And I'm not, Kundalini is a beautiful gift. It's a beautiful energy. But the rising of that energy is going to naturally occur just through the power of that awareness alone. And when the time is ripe, it will just flower and unfold, and the process will accelerate. No effort required. No effort required. It's as simple as refocusing your attention in and as the silence, and that's why the infinite silence meditation is so powerful, because it is direct, and you are it. You're not trusting in that because this guy, Philip, says so. It's because inside, it's you calling to you, saying, come home, I'm here, and you are me. Like this. And so as time unfolds, you'll feel lighter. As beliefs get dropped, left by the wayside, as each belief dies, you'll be less and less triggered and less interested in things that you felt you needed to live and be safe. Because that's what ego likes to do. It likes to keep itself safe. But it's only trying to keep itself safe from its own demise. How funny is that? Ego is trying to keep itself safe from its own demise. So, trust, trust, trust. Listen, listen, listen. Be open, be open, be open to this highest truth, this permanence, that which you are. And the process will flow much more naturally, much more easily. Now, I've done some one-to-ones with a few of you as part of the program, those that got the one-to-ones from the Genie Legacy. And I think on every single one of those, I'm not sure if that's absolutely true, but certainly most of them, we've talked about this a little bit. And one of the examples I wanted to have shared, and I'm going to share this again tonight because I feel it's very beautiful. And when it came to me, it was, yeah, this is going to be useful for people. So the other week, Sue and I were in the Lake District in England, a very beautiful part of England. And the family had gone out that evening to a Thai restaurant. And it was an authentic Thai restaurant, a Thai people. They'd actually bought a lot of the stuff for the restaurant in Thailand. So they had beautiful Buddhas. It was beautifully decorated. They had kneeling Buddhas there and everything. The kind of ambience was really nice. And I only drink water. So whenever we go out, I ask for a glass of water. And I always make sure that I say no ice because I don't like it too cold. However, the glass of water arrived and it had a little bit of ice in it. It wasn't a lot, and I think I might have given a bit to Sue, my wife, for her wine glass because she likes a bit of ice in her wine. And there was just this little bit, there's just like a sliver of ice in the water. And I thought, rather than fishing it out, I just kind of felt cold just to watch it. So I just looked at this ice in the water, watching it gradually dissolving. It was only a thin sliver. And it struck me as how good a metaphor, how beautiful a process this was. Because the ice is in this ocean, to it, what appears to be an ocean of water. And it's no choice but to dissolve, because the ocean is so much bigger and so much more powerful, energetically speaking, thermally speaking, than the ice. So the ice is dissolving, 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 and eventually there's no separation, experience of separation. The ice becomes the water. And the reason I'm spending a lot of time to talk about this is that the ego mind and the belief in it is like the ice. And so you have a choice. Do you go with, and the more that you believe in it, as that you are that, your beliefs, the more that you are basically putting like a freezer into the ice and freezing more and becoming more and more, shall we say, solid, fixed. The more that you trust the power of the awareness, which is the water, and don't put energy into freezing more and more water into ice, the inevitable is going to happen. The energy is now not going into trying to create more ice. It's in trusting that one is the water. The water is the consciousness, is the silence itself. And it's inevitable then that the ice melts. No effort required. So it is with self-realization. One doesn't get there by doing something. One is already this. And if you trust the process, trust the essence, and only trust that, and everything else, and I mean forget everything else coming from here as thoughts, it's not serving you, then the process of the melting, the transformation, the transmutation is inevitable. And if there's one inevitability in the universe, or one certainty in the universe, is that you are this infinite silence, this awareness. And you do not have to believe me on that. In fact, I actively encourage you not to believe a word I say. Instead, trust in that highest truth for yourself, and watch and trust and watch and trust and witness. And that will inevitably flower. Just like the ice dissolving in that glass of water. Just by this. It is this simple, folks. It really is. I would not say that to you were it not true. It really is this simple. And therein lies its power, or rests its power. the absolute simplicity that this can't be that simple, but it is that simple. It is that simple. Truth is simple, only ego is complicated. Truth is simple, only ego is complicated. Will you choose the water of life? Which will you choose? It's a choice. Really? Yeah, it's a choice. Do I go with belief in this, or do I choose the permanence, the essence, the silence? Do I trust that? Do I trust or dare not to trust? That video I've got, 5 minutes, trusting and daring not to. If you've not seen it, take a look. Trusting and daring not to. Because when you're trusting this, you're daring not to trust the truth. And you suffer as a result. When you open to the invitation from the heart and trust that, truth is inevitable. And yes, there may be stuff that comes up to be released, but as I say, it's not a challenge, it's an invitation. It's an invitation. Good. Good. So that's it. What is it that's dying? The dying before you die is the death of the identification, the attachment to, and most particularly the belief in the ego. And it will transition, it will die, those things, by the power of awareness alone. And ego will think the physical form, ego mind, will try to persuade you into believing that it's the body that's dying. I'm dying. You know, sometimes people say this, it feels like I'm dying. Well, actually, on the spiritual path, it's not the physical form that's dying, it's the identification, the attachment, and the belief. And the biggest fear of ego is its own demise, its own death. And this can therefore manifest in the form as a fear of the physical death. But as that fear is faced, again from this same space of awareness, that too is passed through. There's a blog, somebody asked me a question about this some time ago, who felt, and I called the post, the response to the question, On the Edge of Silence. On the Edge of Silence. Do look that one up on the website, on the blog. It talks about this particular part of the process, the facing of this biggest fear. There's a whole blog related to that fits with this stream. So it turns out that the dying before you die is not the physical form that's dying. It's the identification, the attachment, and the belief that's dying. And one of the awarenesses that came up in me, that you know as Philip, as that realization flowered, was these 3 words. And it was this: life is death. Life is death. And again, it's not the physical body that's dying. It's the death of the identification, the attachment, and the belief. And when those go, what is left is life. And you are life. And the physical form can remain, can rest here. But now We're living life, living silence, living awareness. We're not buying into the illusions anymore. Life is death. Or even death is life. Says the same thing. Death of the identification, the attachment, the belief. Life remains. Life is death. Death is life. And then actually, as the realization flowers and is fully anchoring, maybe a cleansing process going on, then you may have even heard about this being spoken of, like a dying in each moment, so to speak. We're not trying to hang on, so to speak. We're just simply allowing each moment to be experienced and just letting it all flow. And so there's this constant sort of life is death going on, but it just becomes a very natural flow. The trust is constantly placed in and as the awareness, and that trust then becomes the knowing. So that's quite a lot about the dying before you die, but I think I've kind of covered that. So any questions on that, you're welcome to pop them up. I've noticed a few other people come on. I think I got as far as Lois, so I can see hello to Asha and Elizabeth. So if anybody wants to ask any questions about that, feel free. I'm just going to look at my notes here just to see if there's things I wanted to cover. Yeah, so I mentioned the one-to-ones. I've done quite a number of those now. There's a few more to do, so that's with the legacy. And I have still got 1 or 2 spaces if anybody is of low or no income. If anybody wants to request one, you can do. We've been doing them on Skype, and actually that's been very useful because we can record them and you've got the file you can download afterwards. So if anybody wants to do that, you can do. One of the questions that came up from somebody that I said I would, if there was time, I'd address tonight. I'm just going to address it briefly because I've kind of touched on it already. But a question came up to do with somebody was struggling a lot with obsessions and attachments, and we talked about this. And here's the thing, one of the insights that was offered is that all attachments, all identifications, and all beliefs are obsessions. It's just a matter of degree. All identifications, all attachments, all beliefs are obsessions. It's just a matter of degree. Because you remember I said at one point a little while back that ego is a thought obsessed with itself. It really is that. And so it adds on these other things around it, but basically they're simply obsessions with how things are meant to be. So the question was about how do I deal with that? Well, the answer is the same with the power of the awareness, Livestream 11. You simply trust only the silence. You face the issue head on, the fear. And it is always a fear, by the way. There's always a fear. From the space of the silence, trust only the silence and it passes. So that's the quick answer to the person that asked that question. Livestream 11. Face it head on. Know that it's just simply an obsession, an identification, attachment, and a belief. That with the power of your awareness, you can move through. And you can move through with grace. It doesn't have to be a struggle. So that's that one. And then the next things, I've kind of touched upon this as I've gone through, but on the 3-month program, we must be about halfway through pretty much now. So I hope that's going well for you. My advice is keep going, keep trusting in the power of the awareness. You will become the living meditation the more that you do. And as I said, particularly focusing the infinite silence meditation, not just any meditation. This is as direct as it gets. And you will become the meditation. Keep trusting, keep listening, keep going. Good. Enough from me. I've been chattering away here for 45 minutes. So enough speaking. Time for a meditation. I can't see any questions coming up, so it feels like meditation time. So let's get ourselves comfortable. Whether you're going to sit down or lie down. Okay, good. And let's do a meditation. So simply closing your eyes. And bringing your attention first to your body. Just resting your attention there. And as your attention rests on your body, just simply open from the heart to the experience of spheres of light. Remember, this is the same as the pure, universal I am. Just the pure sense of being, non-personal. Beingness. Just this aliveness, this pure expression of being. And as your attention rests on this state, I am. Just simply know that the mere fact that this can be sensed or witnessed is because it is seen or sensed from the deeper essence that is infinite silence. So simply allow your attention now to dissolve, just like the sliver of ice, into and as this ocean of silence. Simply trusting, knowing you are the silence. The ice melts, dissolves. Simply allowing. Like a luxuriating bath of silence. Nothing else matters but this. One simply is this. Ocean of silence. Here it is. Here you are. Effortlessly dissolved in the ocean, through the ocean, as the ocean. The pure presence of silence. The permanence eternity itself. This is you, the true, universal, non-personal essence, presence, this rarefied atmosphere of silence. Here it is. Here you are. Now. Absolute stillness. Pure presence. Nothing else matters but this. Simply here as this. Effortless silence. Effortless grace. Effortless stillness. Nothing for you to do to be this. Nothing you have to do. No tests. No gateways. No trying. No striving. Simply here. As this. Nothing else but this. Just simply is this. pure silence. Divine essence. This. Just this. Here as you. So just continue to rest in that space, and I'll play that track for the remainder of the meditation. Okay, so just continuing to rest in and as the silence, knowing your attention can stay rested in and as that essence always. And I'll just ring the singing bowl 3 times. So just remaining centered in and as the silence. Gradually, gently aware of your body, the chair, or anything that you might be lying on. Opening your eyes at the moment that is right for you. Good. I see you. So, if anybody has anything that they want to share, whether it's about the subject of the stream, the dying before you die, or anything else that's been said, or about the meditation program, just pop it up there on the comments and we'll have a look at that. Also, I'm interested in if there's any burning questions that you have, you can pop them up here, or maybe message me on email or Facebook Messenger that you'd like future streams to cover. Something that you don't quite understand or something that you're struggling with. Let me know. Let me know. Make these streams useful to you. Usually I just go with an inspiration that comes to me, but if there's some questions, when somebody asks me a question, it will often trigger a whole series of insights of things that can be shared. It's not something that's thought about, it just simply happens automatically. So actually I find the questions useful because it allows me to lean into or see where the issues are, and it just simply flows. So yeah, if anybody wants to share any experiences as well, that's good. Whilst I'm just waiting to see if anybody's gonna ask or share anything, just a few things to share, a few announcements. For those of you who use the Insight Timer app, I should have coming on stream there soon another meditation, which will be the spheres of light part of the infinite silence meditation. That's something that came from the silence recently that I should reinstate, that will be very helpful for some people. So I've done a specific short 5-minute meditation on that. I'm going to mount that on the YouTube channel as well. And I'm also going to do some new 10-minute, 20-minute, 30-minute infinite silence meditations, maybe even an hour one. So those are coming. Also coming soon will be the new single-page websites I mentioned, which will be beautiful platforms for you to experience. Go straight to Livestream 11, go straight to the the open gaze meditation, and also the spheres of light meditation. Very simple, just those on a single page, and there'll be 3 of them, very easily accessible. This is something that came as an insight from the silence. So those are coming fairly soon. They're getting very close to launch date. Also, I just wanted to say that for those of you in the Manchester area or near there, at the monastery for the last one of the current program of the Open Self Realisation program, and that is this Sunday, this weekend in other words, 14th of April, 11:30 to 1600 in the Pugin room. We are this time. So that's the last one of the current program. Also by special invitation, for anybody who's listening in other parts of the country, I'm going to Staffordshire. That's on the 28th of April, a full day, that one, from 10 till 5. 10 till 5. And that's at John McCluskey's home, who's invited me to come, and he's got a group of people lined up. So if you're wishing to come, there are some publicly available spaces, and you can book that on the website. There's a specific event. I know that a few people on here are probably going to be coming to that anyway. And that's the 28th of April. And also next week, I've been in discussions with, since the beginning of this year, at a new space in Yorkshire called Avalon. It's a well-being centre, about bringing infinite silence self-realisation there. That's going to be focused on transformation, their centre, but that's brand new, purpose-built, high-class facility. And as part of that process, they've invited Sue and I to come along next week to first something that's called Conscious Cafe, and that's on Wednesday evening next week, where this lady invites speakers on various issues to do with, connected loosely with consciousness, to speak, helping spreading the word of consciousness. And the idea of me going along to that is just to see how they do it, how she organises it, and if that feels appropriate, I will do a Conscious Cafe. They happen once a month at Avalon. Some of you may have heard of, but he actually is, I'm fairly certain, is the guy that wrote the foreword to the book of Mere Dad. Andrew has a lot of experience in Eastern traditions and integrating that into the West, and he's going to Avalon next Wednesday, and I've been invited by Avalon to come along. So it sounds like that will be a good evening. I'm looking forward to hearing him and chatting with them further. So that's at Avalon. There's details on my Facebook timeline if anybody's interested in those. And the other news is that at home here, as some of you have seen on Facebook, we've built a fabulous new facility that's going to be called the Universal Studio. The energy in there is amazing. Everybody who goes in there says that. So that's not just me. Hopefully by the end of May that will be ready. So we'll hold our first trial event sometime after that. So yeah, watch this space. And then finally, finally the next stream I'm planning is in 2 weeks time on the 26th of April. And I've been looking into the possibility, that's the 26th of April, Friday night, same time. I've been looking into the possibility of being able to stream live to both YouTube and Facebook at once. And I found out today there is a way of doing that, but was keen not to just jump straight there for good reason with our little technical difficulties that we've had recently. But hope to go there at some point in the future, maybe even that 26th stream. So after that, there may be a slightly longer gap to the next stream because I'll be in the Greek islands for a couple of weeks with Sue, but I'll let you know. So it doesn't look like anybody's got any questions. So if there is anything after the stream, do let me know. Do let me know, are these streams working for you? Do you want more of them? Let me know. Let me know. So I'll just finish off then, if nobody's got anything that they want to add or share, with a little bit more of that track. I hope you all have a good weekend. I'll go on to the logo screen and let the harp play for a little while. Have a beautiful weekend. Thank you for joining us. And as the two Ronnies say, it's good night from me and it's good night from you. Good night.